Ian Happ has entered the chat as the Chicago Cubs get a much-needed W in Philadelphia.
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Sam Olber, and I'm a lifelong fan, taking my passion into a discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Cubs your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and give us a comment below. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Good show today. We have a Jed Hoyer update. He was on John Heyman and Joel Sherman's podcast, the New York baseball podcast. They call it The Show, I believe it is. We're going to do a State of the Union, just how I'm feeling about this Cubs team, where they're at right now. Zoom in a little bit on Ian Happ and his big night on Tuesday night. But we start out in the city of brotherly love with a very nice win. I always laugh when I say that because is there any time where it's not a nice win? I don't know. I guess maybe some of those games against the Rockies, you could say, weren't nice wins, but all wins are nice, and Tuesday was no different, especially because the Cubs were struggling a little bit. They lost that tough Friday close game in Detroit, then Sunday and Monday back-to-back games in Philadelphia. They have the best record in baseball coming off a loss, which I think is a really interesting statistic and one that feels right. Just doesn't feel like there's been a whole lot of long losing streaks for the Cubs. I know Matt said the other day they've had 1 3-game losing streak. They avoided that today. And there's a lot to discuss from this game. Offensively, they finally broke out. Like I said, we'll talk about Happ later on. Michael Busch continues to have just a fantastic sophomore season. He had a 440-foot home run into the Cubs bullpen, a really long home run, Kyle Schwarber territory. Dansby Swanson had a home run, had a really nice day, multi-hit day for Nico. I thought Reese McGuire's double, his RBI double late in that ball game was really crucial to give the Cubs some breathing room. But I got to tell you, even though the Cubs put up an 8 spot, my takeaway from this baseball game, I thought the biggest story in this baseball game was the Chicago Cubs bullpen. 4 2/3 innings of shutout work. Ryan Brazier did give up the 2 inherited runners that Ray left out there, but a phenomenal job by Caleb Thielbar. Who's the best Caleb in Chicago? Who? Might be Caleb Thielbar. Brad Keller looked as good as he's looked all year. I know Brad's had a ton of success this season, but I thought he looked fine. He had a little stretch where he wasn't getting as many whiffs. I thought he looked as good as he looked all year on Tuesday night. Ryan Presley, who I want to talk more about here in a second, and then Chris Flexen. A 4-run lead in the 9th inning is not a low-leverage situation. That's a spot that many teams will use their closer. The Cubs didn't because Palencia, came in for multi-inning work on Monday night, and they just threw Chris Flexen out there. No drama. Gave up 1 base runner, got the job done. You can't say enough about his work. But I want to zoom in on Presley because his last few outings, he's looked like a reliever that should be making, $8+ million like he's making with the Cubs. The fastball velocity is up. He's sitting around 95. He's getting some whiffs. He looks confident out there. And it's just one of those things where relievers are really, really hard to evaluate. They just really are. Guys, even throughout a season. And that's why, and we're going to talk about this later with the State of the Union, that's why you have to wait to make moves. Because, what was Ryan Presley's value just about 3-4 weeks ago? And I'm not saying they're not going to trade Ryan Presley. My point is these relievers, that they're very trendy. They're very trendy. They're very streaky. And when they find a groove, when they find something that works, it could stick a while. I mean, Ryan Presley looked like, let's be honest, that outing against the Giants where he gave up 8 runs without recording an out, it looked like there was a serious question if he should be pitching in baseball. I think that's fair to say, because even before that, he was having success. It didn't pass the eye test. And Matt and I on the show said, hey, why don't, maybe they phantom Ayala, maybe they do something with him. And in a way, they did a different path. They just kind of took the steam off and put him in low leverage cleanup spots for a while. And he's had a lot of success here, and he looks the part. And that's the key. The difference between the success he's having now versus the first pocket when he had some runs of scoreless outings is the eye test. It looks like hitters are genuinely fooled by his breaking balls. They look like they're genuinely late on his fastball. And I think you have to give him a lot of credit. I mean, when you say the term veteran guy, this is what you're talking about. A guy that knows how to handle adversity, a guy that knows how to handle failure. And I just think his work right now is really interesting, and he's gaining more and more trust from Craig Counsell, and rightfully so. But the bullpen tonight, I thought, was the difference in the game. The Phillies bullpen wasn't good. The Cubs bullpen was really, really good. Offensively, like I said, it was a really nice day. Hard to not talk about Happ, but I want to talk about him in the second segment. I thought a really interesting part of this game was Kyle Tucker's strikeout with the bases loaded. I want to say it was the third inning. And you felt like with the way things were going that could really be the ball game. Maybe not the ball game. That's extreme because the Cubs were winning at that time. But you just felt like that was the time to break open the contest. And they weren't able to do that against Abel, who I didn't think looked very good tonight. Young pitcher, was hanging pitches in the zone. And, I think he was very lucky to get out with 3 earned runs. But, sometimes you need your teammates to pick you up. And to be honest with you, and I'm not just saying this because the Cubs won, I tweeted about it, that at bat from Tucker was fine. What happened is Abel threw a 3-2 curveball that was bad. And you see this all the time in baseball. A really, really bad curveball actually could be effective versus just a bad one that hangs in the zone is going to get hit. It was such a bad curveball that Tucker didn't really know what to do. He didn't know if it was going to come back in the zone. It was too close to take, and he was just unsure of himself. It was such a bad pitch. It worked out. You see this happen all the time, and it just happened at the wrong time for the Cubs' sake. But they picked him up. Like I said, I mean, the Bush home run was big. I really thought Reese McGuire, I mean, he had a couple really nice at-bats. He's done a really nice job. You got to mention these guys because at the end of the day, when Amaya's healthy, Reese McGuire probably won't be on this team again. You got to give those guys their credit. Reese McGuire hitting .269 since he's been up, slugging .538, helped them win that Reds game. I thought he was a big part of the win tonight, and he's really helped control the run game. I mean, he's been really, really steady. So give him credit for giving this team a boost on Tuesday night, and really since he's been with the team. So I'm really interested to see what happens on Wednesday because the Cubs are facing Jesus Luzardo, and he was probably at the top of many Cy Young, projections going into his start against the Brewers. And folks, this is not a misprint. This is not a typo. This is not an error by me. In his last 2 starts, he's gone 5 2/3 innings of work. He's given up 20 earned runs. I personally think he's tipping pitches. I'd be surprised if he was that bad again on Wednesday. He probably fixed it. I just think when a pitcher of his caliber with that type of stuff gives up 20 earned runs in 2 starts, he's either pitching through something that he's not communicating to the training staff, or he's got to be tipping. I don't think it's just a mechanical error or something slightly off, because to be that off, I mean, I could go out there and just lob the ball and maybe I get out of there. Maybe I give up 20 earned, maybe, but maybe not. I mean, so we'll really see how that is. Cause that, man, what a crucial game that could be. I mean, if the Cubs lose, it's not the end of the world, but if they were able to win that series after, what a lot of people were worried about was a little funk coming before they, face an ease up in the schedule with Pittsburgh, that would be really significant. So excited for that game tomorrow, but a big part of tonight's win was Ian Happ, and we're going to talk about him coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. It wasn't until I started using Monarch when I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. We are back here on Locked On Cubs, and a big topic of conversation the last 10 days or so has been Ian Happ. It's been that on our show. It's been that on the social media phase, and there's a lot of reasons why. Number one is that Ian Happ's batting leadoff for, one of the best offenses in baseball, and coming into this series, his OPS was under 7, and he was struggling from the left side, and I think it was a fair question to say, hey, is it best for this team going forward if Ian Happ hits leadoff? Or is it best if he goes down in the order a little bit and Pete Crow-Armstrong gets as many at-bats as possible? And, I called out Ian on, I think it was a show last week, and then he had a big day, and it was all funny. But in all seriousness, when you talk about a player, okay, when you talk about a player, especially when I talk about a player on this show, I know what Ian Happ is capable of doing. We all know what he's capable of doing. Ian Happ's been a very solid baseball player for a long time now, most tenured Cub on the team, and, all-stars, and, he made an all-star team, gold gloves, etc. And you don't waste your time. Like I think I said on that show, I was like, it's time, Ian, it's time. And that's exactly what I meant, because, the Cubs have put up great offensive numbers. Pete's been amazing. Okay. Kyle Tucker's been exactly as advertised. But at some point, you knew Ian Happ is going to have to hit for this team. And when he does, it makes the offense all the more dangerous. And it also takes a lot more pressure off a guy like Ian, off a guy like Pete Crow-Armstrong, And we've seen it happen. We know that Ian is very consistently inconsistent. What I mean by that is every year, like last year, he had a really rough start to the year. He always kind of finishes the year where he's supposed to be, but his path is always kind of up and down. And I think it's just really important for this offense, and obviously Tuesday night's a great example, for him to produce and be that guy. I think sometimes on this show, we get not criticized, but hey, you're picking on that guy, or just let it happen. Look, you got to say it the way it is. Ian Happ coming into coming into DC at 2 home runs, and that's inexcusable for a player of his caliber. And now he's getting going, and I think he had 3 home runs. I think I misspoke there, but now all of a sudden he has 7 home runs, and he was the main reason they won the game tonight. And it's really significant because this offense added a superstar caliber player in Kyle Tucker. They didn't know it, but they've also added a superstar caliber player in Pete Crow-Armstrong. If you can now get one of those month-long stretches where Ian Happ is one of your best hitters, alongside what Michael Busch is doing, alongside what Seiya Suzuki is doing, it makes this team all the more dangerous. Because I will say that when Carson Kelly started to slump, and Dansby, who had another nice night, by the way, or a nice night for him, who had been slumping, sometimes it did feel like, hey, are they one hitter away? Is Tucker, Seiya, PCA, Busch enough? But internally, you feel like the one hitter was Ian Happ, and it is Ian Happ. Ian Happ should be that one hitter, because when Ian Happ's going, he's a very good major league hitter. So I think tonight was just a really good step in the right direction for him. And a really good step in the right direction for the Cubs, because ultimately, I saw on MLB Network today, Mark DeRosa had a lineup, and he's like, I want to see Pete Crow-Armstrong hit leadoff for the Cubs. And I think a lot of people probably do. And, I think if Pete continues what he's doing, maybe eventually that happens. But I still think he's better off where he's at. I think he's got enough pressure on him already. Now he's in the MVP conversation and he's going to make the All-Star team. And I just think putting another, not obstacle, but just another layer of pressure on him right now isn't necessary. I think Ian Happ's good enough to man that leadoff spot, and he just needs to produce. And the good news for Ian is, and hopefully it'll be on full display Wednesday for the matinee, is he's been really good from the right side, really, really solid. Like if you were told me that the numbers he'd have from the right side, I'd say Ian's a shoo-in for an 800 plus OPS season. It's been the left side that's bothered him. And, he was awesome there on Tuesday night. But by the way, I think I've said Tuesday night 27 times on this podcast. I don't know why I keep saying it, but the Cubs played Tuesday night and we're recording right after. Jed Hoyer was on the show podcast with John Heyman and Joel Sherman. I want to talk a little bit about that before we get into our Cubs State of the Union progress report. I thought that Jed had there really wasn't a whole lot interesting. Jed talked about how the Cubs are looking to add pitching at the trade deadline. No surprise. Talked about the season and all that stuff. The one thing that was really, really interesting to me was that he kind of had a Freudian slip where he mentioned Tucker making his decision at the end of the season. When asked about the Tucker extension, he said, hey, we're going to keep everything in-house. But most of the time that comes out, after the season. And I think it was Joel Sherman that followed up saying, hey, so does that mean, you guys aren't in extension talks? Then he kind of backtracked and said, hey, I'm going to keep everything in-house. And I'm just going to say this. I'm not going to do a whole Tucker thing because we've done it a lot. You guys know my stance on this. Unless the Cubs win the World Series, if they don't re-sign Kyle Tucker, it's a disaster. It's not hey, we gave it a shot with Tucker, we didn't get him. It's a disaster. If they don't win the World Series and he walks, it's a disaster and it's inexcusable. And to use Matt's phrase, I will leave no stone unturned. But I'll say this. The more likely Kyle Tucker does walk, or maybe I should phrase it, the less likely the Cubs are to extend him, the more likely they are to go all the way in at the trade deadline. I'm talking about whoever it is, Chris Sale, another closer, maybe even another bat. I think Matt Shaw's earned the right to play third the rest of the year. He made one of the better plays you'll see in the ninth inning of this game. But nothing will be off the table because when the trade deadline comes at the end of July, Jed Hoyer we'll all know if Tucker is going to be extended or not. And if he's not, I just don't see the Cubs winning a free agency battle. I just don't see that. I think they have to extend him or it's not going to happen. And so if he's not extended, I'm not trying to paint like a glass half full thing. If he doesn't get extended, I think it's just terrible. But my point is I get a lot of questions every day. Trade deadline. The Cubs will be the most fascinating trade deadline team because you have to roll all the dice, put it all on the table if Kyle Tucker is going to walk, which, I really hope doesn't happen. I would like the reverse of it. I was on a radio station today in Tennessee, and they asked me a question. They said, Sam, what's the vibe like in Chicago? How fun is it? Are the vibes great? And I said, the vibes are good, but I don't think they're as good as they normally would be when the Cubs are on a 97, 98 win pace. Let me check the Cardinals score real quick. Are they about to be 5 games up in the division? It's the 10-6 Blue Jays, bottom 9. So they're about to be 5 games up in the division. But I think the reason why the vibes aren't that great are because everybody knows that there's a chance Kyle Tucker walks. And if Kyle Tucker walks, then this season becomes a lot more than just winning a division and just trying to make a deep playoff run. And so, I thought that was interesting. Anytime you can get any Kyle Tucker news, I think it's interesting because it's been very, very quiet for about a month and a half now. And, who knows how it goes. But, I just wanted to mention that Hoyer kind of saying, hey, he'll decide at the end of the year. And then he kind of took it back. So we'll see. I don't think you could take too much from anything Jed says. Usually it's very quiet before he pounces with a big move. Hopefully that's the case here. Coming up next, I want to just do my my fan perspective, not really as much of a podcaster, but more of a fan of where I'm at right now with the Cubs team as we sit here on June 10th and how I'm feeling about things, because I think things are really, really fun here. And I think it's only going to get better. We talk about that coming up next. This episode is brought to you by Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made from the skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast. PCA going from first to third, from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trademaster program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trademaster program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. We are back here on Locked On Cubs. And, you know, that question when I was doing that radio hit today really resonated with me the rest of the day. And it got me thinking, you know, what are the vibes? How are you feeling about this team? Because for so long, you know, this is our fourth season doing the show. It'll be 3 years in less than a month, but we did the back end of the 22 season, obviously 23, 24, and now 25. And I can't tell you enough how many nights I just woke up going, man, or stayed up going, man, how will this show be? How amazing will this show be to do when the Cubs are really, really good and really in the race and really feeling good? Because we got a little taste of it in 2023 in August and the beginning of September before it really came crumbling down. And it was such a blast. And I've said it a lot, but I feel really good about this team right now. And I think, you know, when I say State of the Union, look, do I think they have holes? Yes. And I know such a big trend. I've been getting a lot of these messages the last week. Sam, what does it matter, you know, the whole season if the Cubs can't hit Skubal and they can't hit Wheeler? What are they going to do in the postseason? Guys, it's a 162-game season. You know, they beat Paul Skeens earlier in the year. They had a few home runs off him. Not every team in the playoffs is going to line up and go, you know, Skubal to Wheeler to Skeens to Flaherty. You know what I'm saying? You're going to lose sometimes to, you know, really good pitching. And that doesn't mean not every stretch, in my opinion, not every 4 or 5 game stretch has to be, well, this is how it's going to look in October. This is going to look how it's going to look in 162. I remember in 2016, my biggest regret of 2016 was because of how 2015 ended. I really didn't enjoy that regular season as much as I should have because my whole focus was playoffs. And every single loss, I was like, that's how it's going to go down in October. That's how it's going to go down in October. And in reality, yeah, the Cubs had a lot of losses that were like that in October. I mean, they won in 5 against the Giants. They lost 1. They lost 3 against Cleveland. They lost 6 games in October. You know what I mean? It happens. You're going to lose those type of games. But they ended up winning the World Series. My point is that, you know, I don't think this stretch right now of baseball has anything to do with October. I think right now with this team, I am in the mode to win as many games as you possibly can. And I don't care how you win them. And I don't care who you beat. I think the Cubs did enough in that early stretch. They won a series against the Padres. They won 2 series against the Dodgers. I know the Diamondbacks are really struggling, but at the time, that was a good series win. I think they've done enough to show that they're not just front runners beating bad teams. They went into Milwaukee, who's above 500. They beat them. They went into Cincinnati. That was a tough series. They beat them. It's not like they've played their whole schedule against the Rockies. They've done enough, I think, to warrant the benefit of the doubt right now to just say, yeah, they're going to go through tough stretches. I expect to see Philadelphia at some point in October. They've now lost 10 of their last 12, right? Imagine how that feels. They got swept in Pittsburgh. You know, you're going to go through ups and downs throughout the season. I think the Cubs have done an awesome job of managing the downs so far. And, hopefully they can continue to maximize the ups. The Cubs need pitching. We know that. Colin Ray was not very good tonight. He was not very good. Again, thought his last outing, he got away with it. Tonight, he actually did get a little bit away with it. But Colin Ray's done his job. He's not supposed to be starting. Imanaga will come back. He'll go back down. Cade Horton's done a nice job. Ben Brown's done a nice job. But they're going to add guys. And, I was asked this question today, too. Is this Phillies series a litmus test? I was asked that on the radio, and my answer was a hard no. Because this Cubs team, this team that you're seeing right now, is very far from a finished product. It's very far from where they're going to be in August and September and hopefully October. To me, litmus test series will come when this Cubs team makes their trades. And every single win, every single game that they gain on St. Louis or any single game that they gain on Milwaukee or whoever it is so crucial because it continues to buy you time until you get to July, mid-July, and you could pounce and then make your team full strength. And then we could look at a series against whoever, the Giants or whoever the Cubs still have left. They really don't have a lot of great teams left on their schedule in the NL. The Yankees or whoever it is, and go, okay, this is a litmus test. We got, I'm just going to throw the name out there because everybody else is. We got Imanaga, Chris Sale, and Boyd going on the mound here, and let's see how they fare against the daunted New York Yankees. But until then, every win's important. And you have to continue to get those. You have to continue to gain ground, continue to stay afloat. You got the Pirates coming in this weekend. We'll talk about. It's an important series to try and get 3 out of 4 and just keep going through the season. So you set yourself up to have a trade deadline that could be hopefully as memorable as the 2003 trade deadline, possibly the 2016 trade deadline when you added a bona fide closer, things of that nature. So, I just wanted to say that because I know losses hurt and they sting, but I've really tried to do, and I'm not telling anybody how to be a fan. Like, I'm the same way. Like, when they lose, it feels like the sky's falling, feels like the world's ending. You guys know that about me. I've tried to be a lot better this year, and it's been a lot easier to be better this year because of how good this team is. But, I'm not trying to tell anybody what to do or how to fan or anything like that. I'm just saying my take is that I feel really, really good about where this team's at. And I think it's only going to get better. And I just can't wait. I want to take each game. I don't want to rush it, but I cannot wait until the trade deadline. And then we could talk about litmus tests. And then we could talk about full strength. And then we could talk about, potential holes on the team, because I bet you after the trade deadline, they're not going to have a whole lot. So great win. Will be a really fun show. Big game on Wednesday. Cubs lost the rubber match in Detroit. Let's see if they can get the rubber match in Philadelphia. Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. You give us 30 minutes, we'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, smash the like button for the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and everywhere you get your podcasts. I'm Sam Olber, and this is Locked On Cubs. Have a wonderful evening, everybody.